You know, man, I really just want to make 10K a month, but I really need a website. I need a super awesome logo. I need all this other stuff before I can go out there and put my stuff out there. You know, in the case study I'm about to show you, we added an extra 15,000 a month and didn't even have a website. But don't I need a website to be able to make money? Yeah, kind of like you can go out to eat without Instagramming it. But bro, I have a 47-step funnel. Well, I hate to break it to you, but your funnel can lick my sweaty ball sack. What's up, guys? It's Frankie here. In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to create an offer from scratch. I'm going to use an actual case study for us that has added an extra 15,000 a month. Regardless of where you're at in your journey, I'm sure you could probably use an extra 15,000. And a lot of times people confuse their deliverable for an offer. Like, you know, hey, I do SEO, I do pay-per-click, we do websites, we do Facebook ads, we do funnels, we do email, we write copy, or we got an AI chatbot, and none of those things are actually your offer any more than, say, a restaurant makes food. Well, it's not really an offer until they say you can get all-you-can-eat barbecue ribs for $16.99 with a side salad, baked potato, and cornbread, right? So I want to show you guys in this video a step-by-step process to turn your thing into an offer, and it's going to use the simplest formula in the world, which is actually listening to people and giving them what they want. For those of you guys who don't know me already, my name's Frankie Finn. I've written these 2 best-selling books, Beyond the Agency Box, Passive Automated Recurring Income, and also I've built 3 of my own agencies up to 100 plus clients over the last 20-ish years or so, and I've helped thousands of people like you to live this more beach, less laptop lifestyle. Let's get into the good stuff. I'm going to tell you the simplest and most basic step, but a lot of people don't have clarity about this. Because your offer is not really your deliverable, you have to know before anything else, who are we actually doing this for? So I'll tell you, when I did our 90-day case study, so the number one question I got asked over the last, 5-6 years, if you were me, you were starting over, you wanted to get to 10K a month, what would you do and why? And I decided to just do it and document the process. And one of the things I decided to do it for water damage restoration contractors. And I'll tell you this very specific reason I chose that industry over other industries is because I literally knew nothing about it. I didn't know anybody, I didn't have any connections. In fact, I didn't understand half of the things they were saying to me in the beginning. And so I wanted to pick something where I was starting at absolute zero, because then, it would be totally different if I entered a market like, dentistry, where my mom worked at a dental office for 23 years and I have, some sort of advantage in understanding that market. So I specifically picked an industry, and this will become clear in a second why this is, because you don't want to end up in a scenario where you're doing this.
You're in big trouble though, pal. I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast.
You eat pieces of shit for breakfast?
No.
Back in the day when Adam Sandler movies were actually funny. If you can actually believe that, there was a time where those movies were funny. So once we decide on who we're going to do this for, what we want to do next is research their problems. And what this will create, by the way, and a lot of marketers skip this step and want to go right to the thing they have for sale, assuming that all businesses want more. And there's a lot of reasons why they don't just automatically want more. So I remember one of the questions I asked is, which kind of jobs, or I could replace that word with clients, customers, patients, whatever, but I said, what kind of jobs do you wish you had more of? And their answer was Cat 3 flood jobs, okay? So if you ask your market, by the way, you're going to get different answers to this, but usually it's the thing they make the most money on that's the easiest for them to fulfill. In their particular case, they had a very specific reason. If they do bigger jobs, the insurance company fucks them around and doesn't pay them, so they wait often 4, 5, 6 months. And this was the sweet spot for the biggest jobs that they get paid on the quickest, right? So for them, this is a real sweet spot. Now, the next question I asked myself is, how do we actually get people to category 3 flood jobs? So this led me to the magic step 3 here, which are the deliverables. And by the way, this is the place most people start. They jump right to their deliverables. They don't really decide who they're going to do it for, and they don't really research their problems, and then they jump into I do SEO, pay-per-click, web design, whatever. And what will happen is if you start with a who and research their problems, it will create what I call a 10-degree shift. Like, so what's the difference between we do SEO and we do SEO to get you category 3 flood jobs? Like, it's just changing a little bit of keywords, changing a little bit of information on a landing page, but it makes a great deal of difference to the end prospect. Why? Because these are their most valuable kind of jobs they get, where they actually make money. And by the way, don't assume that whatever niche you're in, that they make money on everything. In fact, most things, what I call the nickel, like the volume stuff, a lot of times after they pay staff and teams and insurance and gas and overhead and all those and licensing fees, often they make nothing, right? So a lot of times when you just promise, I'll get you more leads and more sales and more customers and more jobs, they actually don't make any money. So the next question I asked myself is, what deliverables would actually get them that result? And so I went in some of the different Facebook communities and I asked them, how are you guys getting category 3 flood jobs? By the way, when you're a complete stranger and you're asking questions like this, sometimes people are going to be a little bit harsh like this.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
So in our particular case, they said 4 things, okay? So they said, we get our jobs from property managers, we get our job from plumbers, we get our jobs from insurance adjusters, and we get our jobs from SEO and pay-per-click. And so I knew right then that we were gonna create an SEO plus pay-per-click solution. And the question I asked myself, if I wanted to get category 3 flood jobs, how would I use SEO and pay-per-click to do it? And the answer was really, really simple. It was just aim it at certain keywords. So the next thing we started to do was match our deliverables with their needs, right? We started to think, how could we sync these up? And so what we noticed is there were keywords like emergency flood repair and emergency home flood repair that indicated this person probably was exactly the kind of person they were trying to get in front of. And so we focused on that. And then the next thing I did is had a conversation with my white label partner, and I said, hey, you've worked in this industry already. What's a typical average result after they're ranking a website? And he said, typically, they're gonna get between 50 to 100 category 3 flood job phone calls every month. Now, by the way, this was our actual offer. Not a service, hey, I'm gonna do SEO, right? We're not selling activity, we're selling the result of the activity. And this is why we have to decide on the who in the first step, because if we skip deciding on the who, the outcome's not gonna make any sense, right? Like if you run pay-per-click campaigns and you run it for a dentist, that outcome is going to be different than if you run the exact same campaigns for a plumber, and it's going to be totally different if you run it for an e-commerce store. So until we actually are aiming it for somebody, it's hard to intelligently talk about the specifics, and it looks kind of like this.
Trying to reach the green from here, shooter?
That's not possible, sir.
I beg to differ. Happy Gilmore accomplished that feat no more than an hour ago.
Well, moron, good for Happy Gilmore. Oh my God! Oh my God.
Hey, shooter, haven't you forgotten your 9-iron?
That's a funny scene. I'm just throwing out there. Adam Sandler actually was funny back in the day, 20 years ago. Anyway, so we started with who, right? Like it's actually the most important question. We have now researched their problems by asking them questions, by the way. There's only really 2 ways to do this. We either listen in on their conversations that they're already having online, or we directly ask the questions. I chose to directly ask questions. My favorite way of doing that, by the way, is in communities where it's non-threatening. They told us exactly what they want, and we focus on building a deliverable. And by the way, if there's 2 SEO and pay-per-click companies, and one is saying, hey, we'll do SEO and pay-per-click for you, and one says, we'll aim it at the kind of work you want, we're going to get that work like 9 times out of 10. And by the way, this exists in your market, by the way, which is why I'm telling you. So the last step, which is the step everybody is kind of anxious and eager to get out there, is we need to put it out there. So I've talked about this in different videos, but there's basically like 6 different ways you can do that. You can do what's known as one-to-one, which is what is predominantly taught in our space, cold outreach, cold DMing, cold calling, things like that. You can do content. You can publish stuff that makes people find you. You can do paid ads. I chose not to do paid ads in this example because I was trying to answer the question, if you were me and you're starting over, and the vast majority of people starting out don't really have an ad budget, so I didn't want to like kind of cheat and do it that way. The next thing is you can do networking, right? I can go where the restoration contractors are, and I can shake their hand and I can do stuff. The next one are what I call audience owners, right? So I went to, in my case, the industry associations, because they had all the restoration contracts, like 30, 40,000 of them. And the last piece is referrals, and there's things you can do to create referral partners. And by the way, the people who make the best referral partners are audience owners. So this is my favorite way of doing it, is go after the audience owners first, co-create content with them, those people become referral partners, and then the content we create with them makes for the best ads. In the same way that if we were online and I did, say, a case study with Alex Hermosi, and then I went and published that as a paid ad, well, here's a case study of what I did for Alex Hermosi or Grant Cardone or something like that. It's probably going to work better than here's the exact same ad about the exact same thing without them, right? So it has that hidden power in it. And in most industries, there's tons of people who have tons of pull with the audience that are far less famous than internet marketers and super, super easy to reach. So that's what we did. And this is, by the way, our preferred strategy in the Wolfpack Mastermind, which you guys can check out here. So I wanted to show you guys this because what most people do when they go to create an offer is they go straight to the deliverables, and then what happens is, because they haven't figured out who they really want to do it, and they haven't figured out what these people are trying to do, and really having listened to them, what happens is you end up with a hard to sell Me Too offer. You're the 100,000 person that's emailing them saying, we do SEO, or we do pay-per-click, or we do Facebook ads. Do you want to hire us for our service? And instead, when we walk in the door and say, hey, I can get you 50 to 100 Category 3 flood job calls each and every month from Google, totally for free, other than paying for our help to get there, would you be interested in that? And then we go strategically put it out there. We start with the audience owners. Why? Or at least that's my preferred way of doing it. You may have another preferred strategy. But I start with the audience owners because that's where all the buyers are. That's where 30,000 contractors who spend money on advertising like to hang out. And then we create valuable content about this exact thing, showing them how to do it. And then in doing so, we have stuff that can be amplified with ads. And we've also created relationships with those partners that result in referrals. So I know for us, we can often send 1 to 5 messages a week to audience owners, stupid, simple messages that a third grader could write. They're 3-4 sentences long, and create opportunities where we get our stuff in front of 30,000 people. So I know for us, like I published a magazine article, for example, and they decided to publish it on the front cover. That article led to us. I got featured on stage in Las Vegas, so I got invited to an event with our man John Marenko. Got some referrals from those various partners. And the other thing too is a lot of times when you publish stuff in audience owners, like when you publish content, for example, we did some like Ask the Expert interviews, little 5-minute interviews. Like some of those things got like 10,000 views in the first 24 hours. If I publish the exact same content on my own brand new YouTube channel, I get 3 views if I'm lucky, and one of them's a bot and one of them's my mom. And if you publish them in audience owners, don't be surprised because they already have a built-in audience that 10,000 people might see that in the first 24 hours. So we're able to rapidly get our stuff out there, pre-selling the thing that we know they already want because we researched their problems and it's demonstrated for a clear who. So I wanted to lay this process out because almost everybody starts here with their deliverables and then they wonder, why is this shit so hard to sell? And because you've created a Me Too offer, right? It's not an outcome-based offer, it's an activity-based offer. We're gonna do some SEO, we're gonna do some pay-per-click, we're gonna run some Facebook ads, and instead of, hey, we can get you exactly the thing you want, which they just told us in the step before. So if you're not really sure where to begin this process, the number one decision, this is why we're so big on pick a niche, is because it makes your messaging actually aimed at somebody. So I hope this was helpful to you guys. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to subscribe just for the golden ad guns and corny jokes alone. See you guys on the other side, and may the force be with you.
Hey guys, if you like this video, you may also like my best-selling book here, Beyond the Agency Box. It is all about scaling a digital marketing agency while eliminating meetings and phone calls. We actually sell our stuff phoneless. We don't have any client meetings, and we also hire our team entirely without meeting phone calls, which allows us to, like actually kind of live a life. I've laid out the entire blueprint in everything you need to know, getting clients, onboarding, setting expectations, scaling, building a team, you name it. It has been a bestseller on Amazon now for over 5 straight years, but now you can get it even cheaper than you can get it on Amazon. So I can't tell you the exact price because it may change when this video is released, but there should be a link to it below, either in the description of the video or as well as a pinned comment. So if you're interested in that, check out that video and you can get a copy for super cheap.